Hello and welcome to another episode of the Portrait Profit Show. Thank you for being here this evening. We have a group of panelists that you're going to be impressed with because Amanda and I have already visited with them and we think that they are fantastic. So we're looking forward to it. And speaking of Amanda, let me bring her on real quick. Hey, Amanda, how are you doing?
Hey, Jim, I'm doing well. Everything's all good over here. Finished a nice first Monday here.
Good. Are Mondays crazy for you, or is it just like every day?
Um, Mondays are typically pretty busy for us because we have a lot of photographers and clients that obviously put all of their orders in over the weekend, especially if they're, kind of hybrid, if they have work, that they're doing, separately from their photography business and they're trying to build their business. Some of them are working part-time, and a lot of those part-time individuals spend their weekends placing their orders. So we come into a lot of those orders on Monday. So it's just a lot. And then we get organized and we plan out the week and make sure everything gets done for them.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate that you're doing all that for us. We understand that sometimes you have to pull your hair out and cause it to change colors over time, although there's no sign of that for you yet. But
I'm going blonde to cover my grays, to distract from my gray.
well, we admit that we're the ones who caused that, but we're so glad that you're willing to accept it and help us become heroes to our clients.
Labor of love.
Well, every Monday, every Monday we have Portrait Profit Show, but on the second Monday of every single month, Amanda and I change things up a little bit. We have a panel of three who answer some questions about specific topics, and today's topic is on planning, and so they're going to be answering questions and helping us see different points of view on how we can better plan our business. So we do this just so that you can see things from a different point of view, and also because not everybody's available at noon when we normally have this show, and so we have this one at 6:30. So thank you for changing things up and remembering that we meet here in the evening. Someone reached out to me earlier saying, "Are you guys not doing it today?" Well, we are. We're just doing it at 6:30. I hope you can come back and see us then.
Yeah. I do like that Portrait Profits. We try to make it very accessible for everybody. So, on the other Mondays, we have it during lunchtime, which hopefully, you can take your lunch hour and sit down with us and do that. And then we have this after hours one. But obviously, we also, using the system that we have, it streams to several social media platforms as well as YouTube channels and everything, and they actually stay on there static so that if you miss an episode, you can always go back. Or if you watch an episode and you really enjoy it and you can't remember because you're not taking notes at the time, you can always go back and watch them again. So that's why I really love the system that we have going, and I'm excited as always for everything that we've got going on. It's out there
Yeah, that's
helping.
right.
Yeah.
Speaking of, if you guys are watching this right now live, I want you to enter in hashtag live. Just post that right there on Facebook or YouTube. Enter in hashtag live so we know you're here. If you're watching this later on, you're watching the replay, please enter hashtag replay. That way we know who's watching when, whether it's live or whether it's later. Like Amanda said, you can watch these at any time. Just do us a favor and enter in hashtag replay to let us know that you're watching it at some other time. It's just further down in the feed. You can do a search for any of the topics, but you'd of course, have to know the title. But we're on the Digital Pro Lab Facebook page, the Landers Photography School Facebook page. Portrait Profits has its own Facebook page. We're on the Photo SA Camera Club page. We're on the San Antonio Photography group page. And with a group like San Antonio Photography Group, there are a lot of people who are active on a page or a group like that. And so therefore, we are down in the feed, but we'll be way down because in a short period of time, there's 10 or 20 already above yours. So just look down. There's a search, and so you can search Portrait Profit Show and find us there. So I'm looking at the comments right now. Hey, Julie, how are you doing? I'm glad you're here. Julie entered the hashtag live just like we requested, and if we were giving away prizes, she'd get it because she was the first to do it. So thank you for being here, and thank you for clicking on or entering in the hashtag live and let us know that you're here. By the way, if you click on, and you guys have probably, if you've watched this many times before, you've seen this before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard. This is who we use to share this show with. It's our platform. Leave StreamYard your name and or click on that link to give them permission to give us your name. Otherwise, we don't know you're here. So that is the thing that causes us to know that you're here. Also, we encourage you. I don't know about. I just got rid of that. There we go. I don't know about Amanda, but I sure do like those loves and likes. Do you
I
appreciate
love
that too?
it. Absolutely. I love interaction.
So we encourage you to hit that love button or that like button if if you don't love us, but hit that love button, hit that like button. By the way, while you're watching the show, you can click it multiple times throughout. It only shows up on our end. It only shows it one time. But if you click it throughout, every time you hear something you like. So when Victoria says something that's outstanding, click that love button. When Esmeralda says something inspiring, click that love button. And when Guy T says something that causes you to go, I really like that, click that love button. Let us know that you like it. We love that interaction, and we encourage your questions and your comments. We have plenty of questions to ask them, but if yours is even better than ours, guess what? We're going to bump it up. So please ask your questions. Please leave your comments. We're encouraging you to do that. So before I start introduce this show and start introducing the guest, did you have anything else that you wanted to share, Amanda?
I'm going to share everything towards the end as usual, but I want to thank everybody for being here, especially thanking our guests that we have on the panel today. I'm really excited to hear all of their feedback, especially from
Mm-hmm.
all the great questions that Jim has prepared for them. So let's get started. I don't want to take up too much of the time when people aren't here to see me. Trust me, they want to see them.
All right. Well, we'll see you shortly, Amanda. Woo, man. We really do have something good in store for you. Let me introduce the show real quick. My name is Jim Landers, and my mission, well, it's simple. I help portrait photographers just like you make a great income doing what they love. Each week, you get tips and systems on the business side of photography designed to gain a mastery over business, over the marketing and the sales of your business, reducing the struggles that most photographers face so you can finally get what you deserve. You're in the right place. Welcome to the Portrait Profit Show. So today we have a panel on how planning makes a difference in your business. And to introduce each one of them, I'm going to bring them on one at a time so that they can give you a little bit of information about who they are and what they do and why they love this. So let's see, I've got an order in which I do it. Let's bring on Esmeralda first. Hi, Esmeralda.
Hello.
How's it going today?
That's going great. Hope everybody's having a good day. So,
Tell us a little bit about you and your business.
so, kind of alluding back to what Amanda said a little while ago, a lot of photographers, do stuff over the weekend. I work full time, in the healthcare system, and so photography is what I've been doing on the side for quite a while. I've done mostly landscapes and animals and stuff like that, and photography I'm learning is my passion, and so it's time to delve into the portrait world. So that's kind of my new goal. So um, that's where I'm at this time.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Esmeralda, for being here today and taking your time. We know that there's other things that you could be doing, but you are here with us because you care about other photographers. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. All right, let's bring on, let's see, Victoria. Hey, Victoria, how's it going this evening?
Oh, let's see. Hi.
Tell us a little bit about you and what you enjoy doing.
Um, full-time job as a marketing assistant with Red McCombs Toyota. I do portrait photography, event photography, videography on the side. Have been doing that since 2016. Um, in the very beginning, I used to just do everything. Like I would do anything, photograph anything, film anything until like recently is when I started focusing on, what I'm really passionate about, which is portrait. So ever since I've been doing that, it's become a little bit less hectic. But overall, I've been able to apply those skills to my current position here at the dealership. So they kind of balance and play along with each other. So.
Awesome. And thank you for being here today. Do you work with someone else when you're working, or do you work alone?
I do. I do work with someone else. My boyfriend is also a partner with me in our business. He is on the graphic design side. So our business is called VZ Media and Print. It used to be VZ Photo and Video. But we just decided to put both of our expertise together and to make it like I guess a one-stop shop, because he
Awesome.
also knows photography and videography, but he's more on the expertise of print and graphic design. So we are on both sides. We provide both, because of course you can see in everything nowadays in media, both of those fields are applied in everything. So we just decided to, partner and go our way with that.
Nice. And by the way, guys, I already knew the answer to that question because the three of us had lunch together not that long ago. So, so that was fun visiting with you guys then, and it's wonderful having you here this evening. Thank you so much,
Yep.
Victoria.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And let's bring on Guy T. Phillips. Hi, Guy T. Oh, I think you're.
How are you, sir?
There we go. Good. How are you doing this evening?
It's been the best evening we're going to have all night, right?
I could expect something like that from you.
Yeah, it'll be a great evening.
You can expect a good laugh from Guy T.
Thank you.
And a lot of good info.
Hopefully.
Well, tell me about you and what you enjoy doing.
Well, let's see. I guess we'll start off with the accomplishments stuff, because I saw that was among those different accolades and things you were looking for. I'm
Yes.
fortunate, very fortunate. PPA, the Professional Photographers Association, I am a current counselor. Also was given the title of photographic craftsman a few years ago. And then just today renewed my certified professional photographer recognition. You have to renew that every 3 years, and I submitted the content that gets you that renewal. And so I'm up for another 3 years as a certified professional photographer. And then more locally, the Texas PPA, I am very fortunate to have just been recognized as a fellow with the TPPA, and am this year's treasurer as well with the TPPA. Unlike most of you folks, I'm up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, just north of the DFW airport, where I live in Highland Village, and lucky enough to have the most beautiful woman I've ever met and the best friend I could ever ask for as my wife. We'll be celebrating 38 years in 2022. And then I have a daughter who's down in Houston, graduated out of Texas A&M in 2014 and went back for her master's in 2018. Those are probably my bigger accomplishments, is my wonderful wife and having a marriage for 38 years, and my daughter, of course. So.
That's fantastic.
Mhm.
You have done a lot for the photographers all over. You've spoken at many different groups and organizations and guilds, not just in your area, but not just all of Texas, but all around. In fact, I think you were telling me you were just in, where was it, Utah or California, just recently speaking.
I was on a show similar to yours, not quite the same structure, for the folks out in PPA in Santa Clara Valley, out
There we go.
near San Jose. That was a great evening as well.
So thank you for all you do for the
Thank you, sir.
photographers,
I'm
helping
fortunate.
us out.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that. Well, I have the first question for you.
Okay.
And that first question is what is your philosophy on the importance of planning for for a portrait photographer?
Oh wow. Okay. So I can't emphasize enough needing to plan for my type of client. At least it sounds like we all have slightly different cliche or not what niches that we're actually going after. And in my particular case, my focus these days is on headshots, corporate headshots for business leaders, medical professionals. Today was a guy who runs his own IT organization, et cetera. But what all those folks have in common is they don't give me a lot of time to be in front of them. In many cases, they're going to give me just a few minutes and they got to go because they've got something else they got to take care of. And so planning ahead and making sure I understand what I'm walking into and being prepared for what I'm walking into, and then taking as little time with that specific, we'll say the talent, is very critical. So I'll do a lot of the background work through automation, perhaps with different applications we'll talk about later, I'm guessing. But if I'm working with a marketing director, or if I'm working with their right-hand person, whatever it happens to be, we've already talked about a lot of the details, so the talent doesn't have to be involved. So when they pop in, I already know where I'm going to place them. I already know what results to expect out of my lighting that I've got set up, and they can be gone and within just a couple of minutes. It takes me a few minutes to set up, a few minutes to break down, and I'm out of their way. And I get no bigger compliment than when they say, "Wow, that was fast."
So do you come across to them, do you feel like you come across to them as someone who is organized and knows what you're doing?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. The other day I was doing a headshot in my own personal studio, and the guy had brought his wife along with him, and he also ran some company. I won't get into too many details on that, but he turned off to one way and got his wife's attention and pointed at some certificates I have hanging on the wall, and he said, "See, see, see." So I was like, "Oh, good, those things do work." But yeah, it there's always that ramp up time where it takes you a while to get that credibility going. But I think planning can give you that credibility when you show that you're taking them seriously. You're not firing off 10 shots and hoping for the best. You're not spinning the dials and hoping for a better exposure, et cetera. And even if something doesn't go quite right, you know how to fix it. You don't start sweating it, et cetera. So yeah, planning makes a huge difference, improves their confidence in me, but also improves my skill sets. And like I said, in my niche, it's super critical because they're not going to give me a lot of time to figure it out. I got to know what I'm doing. So
That makes a lot of sense.
thank you.
Well, thank you, Guy T. Let's bring on, let's see, Esmeralda.
Me.
That's right. Tell us about what you feel is how important planning is for portrait photographers.
So, I mean, it's got to be really important because, I mean, you need to plan to make sure that you have the proper equipment and that you're not missing anything, and then that you make the time available for your clients, right? So, on the side where I do light paintings at night, I mean, it's really important to plan, the right time in the evening time to be able to, get photos before it gets dark and then after it gets dark, that kind of thing, so which of course that can happen with portrait photography also. So I mean, it's really important to plan ahead. So
Yeah, thank you for that. So you said painting with light. Is that right?
light painting,
Light painting.
yes.
How long have you had an interest in doing that kind of work?
No, a few years. I've been doing that for a few years.
Yeah.
hmm
Do you have a? Can you describe your favorite?
Right now, it's really just cars, light painting vehicles
Yeah.
for car enthusiasts, and because guys that spend money on their cars, they'll spend money on other things. So
Yeah.
yeah,
All right. Cool. Thank you, Esmeralda.
sure.
And let's bring on Victoria. Victoria, what do you feel is your philosophy on the importance of planning?
Um, I mean, I agree with what was Esmeralda stated about making sure you have your proper equipment. Most important is to make sure that all your batteries are charged. That's the most important thing because I will admit I had made the mistake that I forgot to charge my batteries, and a session had run shorter than usual. So just to make sure you have everything you need based on what it is that you're going to be doing on that specific date or whatever it is that your client is asking of you. Um, Also, like with here, for instance, with my employer, doing headshots, I have to plan ahead and make sure I get all employees on the same page. I sometimes have to plan and email them like at least a week in advance to 3 days in advance, and then to the day before, and then the day of. So it all comes down to just making sure like what Guy T said, what you're dealing with, because there's going to be expectations, of course. um so yeah, I mean, planning is very important, because you don't want to be there at the last minute procrastinating, and then you do a bad job. That's not what you're wanting to do. So planning is the most important thing.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. When you said you do the photography and marketing for Red McCombs, is that right?
Yes.
Uh, do those require planning, or is that a different type of photography altogether?
So they require planning. Way in the beginning, when we had a staff page, we were to make sure that we had every staff employee that we had a year had at least a headshot, because when customers are putting an e-lead or anything on there, we want to put a face to who they're communicating with. So that takes some planning, because I have to figure out what location on the dealership, either the showroom or a specific office space. I need to figure out more or less when it's going to be. Again, like I said, I usually would email them at least a week before, and then it goes to 3 days before, day before, and then day of. Um, Mostly because salesmen are very bad at checking their emails, so I sometimes have to do it in person. Um,
Really?
yeah. Or they're just very forgetful. It happens. And then just making sure that they have either they're wearing their Red McCombs polo, or if they're wearing their business attire, have to make sure that they're prepared for that. Sometimes when I don't get all of them in there, that's when I have to reschedule another day, and sometimes that will be until the next week, and again the process repeats itself. um, Again, some other things that we do for our marketing, like recently, was a photo shoot of some T-shirts that we have ordered in for for a few specific vehicle packages that we have, and just wanted a couple of our salesmen just to model those T-shirts, just in house, everything in there. So I didn't want to take it, of course, in the showroom. So we have a photo bay. I use that. I have my 3-point lighting set up, and then I have my backdrops and my stands. So that too was planning. So making sure I have all the equipment that I'm going to use, making sure I have enough lighting, because the photo bay does not have the perfect lighting in there. Making sure I know who I'm going to be using, how many shirts there are, how many they're each going to model, and then just specifically planning, when I need those photos done, how they're wanting. And I'm always, partnered with my marketing director, because she's the one that calls all the shots. So
So
it's
lots of
just
details.
it's a lot of detail.
A lot
Yes.
of
So it
details.
goes back to, it's like you're making a list and you're check marking them off to make sure you have, every single thing covered, or else, there's a chance that you might forget, and that's something that you don't want, because then
Sounds like Santa. You're making a
yeah,
list and checking it twice.
you have to check it twice.
Well, thank you for that answer. And let's ask you the next question.
Okay.
And that question is, this is on business, so this is not the photography side. This is the business planning side. So, how far in advance do you plan, and do you feel what do you feel is the right amount of time to plan? And so that means, some people just plan the next event that they have. Others plan a quarter or a year in advance. Others are planning 5, 10 years in advance. How far in advance do you think a portrait photographer should plan?
Um, so I like to do like like how people do New Year's resolutions. I like to do the same for my business wise. Um, like last year I made a goal, like I planned and made a goal. I want to do, this many, I want to be able to reach this many more, potential clients. I know we decided to not do events anymore, but we we were getting a few more inquiries of events right after the new year. So we're actually back to it. So I just wanted to make a goal of that ahead of time. Like I want to do at least 1 or 2 per month, just to get out there. So that's kind of what I was planning. And then of course, just how I advertise, our business. That's another one of the things is I like to plan um, at least a couple weeks in advance when it comes to advertisements. Um, when it comes to I guess like you can say events, I like to plan at least a month. Um, yeah, it really just depends on what it is, to be exact.
All right. Well, thank you, Victoria. I appreciate that. So that same question is going to Guy T. And I think you're muted.
Sorry about
Yep.
that. We're going to go back to old school stuff on this one that goes back to way back when I was a kid. Every time I'd get anything, my dad used to get frustrated because I'd take it apart because I wanted to know how the darn thing worked. But rolling forward into today, anytime I buy new equipment, I've probably already read the manual before I actually physically get the piece of equipment, or soon thereafter, I'm going to be reading that manual and walking through every single button and going, okay, what's that do? What's this do? What difference does that one make, etc. So how far in advance, way before a client is ever involved, I've already figured out all those types of things so that I know what to expect. Why would I use this light, not that light, that modifier, not that modifier, all those types of things. Even created a class that we used to do with TPPA. I'm sure it'll be coming back in 2022 about those lighting setups and how do you know what to expect, and little tips and tricks we can talk about later if you like about how to make sure that if I throw this modifier on there, this is what's going to happen. This is what I got to change on the camera, etc. Yeah, way in advance, and it's just a matter of being, like I said, prepared so that I know what to expect. If you walk into my studio, you're going to see a variety of lights, and I can tell you what any and every one of them are going to do at 8 feet, 10 feet, etc. So that, yeah, I just try to make better use of the client's time is really what it comes down to, right?
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I'm noticing to your right a whole bunch of conference name tags.
Oh yeah,
You've
way
been
over
you've been
here.
active. Yes.
A little busy. Yeah, a little busy.
But that's I like it when I like stories. That bringing it back to as a child, taking things apart, knowing what things are all about. How many of us read the manuals? You're a rare
Mm-hmm.
person, and you
Yeah,
probably know that.
yeah. Just
But
that
you're
left
probably
side, right
better.
side, whatever it is, right?
Well, you're probably much better prepared at using equipment than the majority of us are.
Yeah,
So that's fantastic.
and
Thank you.
probably not as creative as many others. So there's that
Well,
balance, right?
yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah.
that's right. Thanks, Kaiti.
Yes, sir.
And the same question is going to Esmeralda. How far in advance do you plan, and do you feel like that's the right amount of time? This is on the
So
business side.
so I've always, I mean, even in my work and everything, I've always used planners. So there's certain things that I do each week. So I just put it and it just plans it out for the unforeseeable future forever, until you stop it. And then that allows me to pencil in time for other things, where I have spots available, throughout the week. So I start kind of cutting it down to the month, and then I cut things down by the week. So on Sundays is typically when I start looking at, okay, what's going on this week, and then just kind of carving time out for everything and making sure that everything makes sense where it needs to. So, um, so I, since I'm new, of course, to this, the portrait world, so I understand that there's going to have to be things planned pretty much more in advance, So, um, but I will get there. So,
Very good. So you use a calendar? Is that like Google Calendar or something else?
I use my phone or my iPad calendar because they sync, so I always have
Good.
my calendar with me. So
And then when you're reviewing on Sundays before
mhm.
you get the week started, uh, do you feel like that's plenty of time, or are there times when it's um, not enough, or, and are there situations where you need more time than that to plan, or is it work out just perfectly?
No, it works out because I even have it to where I know that I'm going to a conference in June.
Hmm.
So I already have that plugged into my calendar. So I'm already working stuff around that. So I know, like, okay, I'm gonna take time off work for this. And so even though I look at the week closer, I see the big picture ahead too.
Nice,
So mhm.
nice. Uh, you're going to get the next question, but before I ask it, those of you who are watching, if you're watching live, I'd like for you to post hashtag live. Now, if you're watching this as the replay, I'd like for you to enter in hashtag replay. But if you're watching this live right now with us, I want you to enter in hashtag live. That way we know that you're here and know that we encourage you to make comments and to ask questions, and hit that like button and hit that love button. And you can hit those buttons as many times as you want throughout this entire show. So, Esmeralda, you get the next question. And this is, do you enjoy planning? And if so, have you always enjoyed planning?
I hate to admit that Office Depot is one of my favorite stores. So yeah, I've always been a planner in my work, and I kind of try to fit everything. I have everything color coordinated in there, so it all fits. Things that in my personal life, work life, photography life, I have it all sorted out. So but I've always been a planner.
You know what? Office stores have always held a special place in my heart too. I always thought I was weird, so
So,
we're weird together.
there
My
you
friend Esmeralda,
go.
my office store friend Esmeralda. Thank you for that, Esmeralda.
Sure.
That same question is going to Victoria. Do you enjoy planning, and if so, have you always enjoyed planning?
I can honestly say I do. I like to keep very organized. I do have a planner that I have used for like since I was in high school, I guess you can say. Um, so, in the very beginning, like I stated on the first question, when I used to photograph everything, like it didn't matter if it was portraits, it was pets, it was landscape, anything, automotive, I would just jot it down in my calendar or my planner, and I would just more or less look at it daily. But now, what I also do is instead of only the planner, I also put it in my phone in the calendar because I'm also able to share it with like maybe my clients and who they're able to see it. So that way, when the reminders come up, we're both on the same page or we're both reminded, this is what's going to happen. So yeah, you can say that I like planning. It's a sense of organization for me and just keeping on the straight path.
Yeah, that makes sense. Got to keep us going where we
Yeah.
need to be heading. There's a lot of good things that we could put in our path, but we've got to put those right things in our path to make sure we reach whatever success we're after. So, yep,
Hmm.
I like that. Thank you, Victoria. And that same question goes to Guy T. Do you enjoy planning? Have you
I do
always?
now. And no, I didn't used to. Um, I'm going to bring up electronic though, and kind of go where Julie Miller Kelly to what she was asking as well, if you don't mind. Um, I do enjoy planning nowadays from a couple of different tools that I use. One's called 17 Hats. One's called Zoho Social. 17 Hats. The name implies that you have to wear 17 hats to be successful. You can't just wear one hat, kind of a thing. It also supposedly refers to the number of employees they had when they first started up. But in any case, that makes planning so much, much more automated. I don't like paper. I don't want any paper trails. I don't want to fill up file cabinets. So 17 Hats and Zoho Social allow me to get my planning taken care of on the client side with 17 Hats. Everything's automated, super, super simple, so that I'm not chasing down an email. It sends out reminders for me. For example, the guy who was here just a little while ago for his headshot, he had gotten a notification one day before our appointment and another one the day of the appointment. So, I don't have to do any of that kind of stuff. In the meantime, it's already on my Google Calendar, which syncs to my phone, to my other devices as well. When it comes time for social media, though, I'm going to do that in Zoho and plan out, I've already planned out everything, posting all the way out into December is already on my social media. And we can get into more details, Jim. I don't want to step on your toes too much, but how we plan those different things is also different. So I'm not always planning everything for Facebook and everything for LinkedIn, and they're not always on the same days, but we'll get into more of that a little later on if you like, sir.
Yeah, thank you for answering her question. Uh, it's a it's fun and a pain. Some of the things we have to do as photographers, and there's so much behind the scenes. I mean, when you had this dream of being a photographer, did you already know how much behind the scenes things you were going to need to do and how
Oh,
much
no.
time they would take?
No, I came from a corporate educator background where I worked for a Fortune 500 company and thought I knew an awful lot, but I quickly realized, oh yeah, somebody else did that, and somebody else did that, and somebody else did that. So yeah, there was a ton of things I didn't know, and that's part of the reason why I dug deep to find, okay, what can I do to automate this process? Because I couldn't survive without it. And like I said, 17 Hats, Zoho. I used to use Hootsuite, but their price went a little berserk not too long ago. Still a great product though. But things like that make my life so easy. I won't be surprised if during this call I'm probably going to get a new lead where they're going to go ahead and pay their deposit without me even knowing it. It'll already have an appointment set. I'll know what the appointment is for. So.
And you guys want that. You guys who are watching, you want exactly what he's talking about. You want
Yeah.
those things to happen, but you have to do the planning. You've got to make it. You've got to put things in place so that something like that even has the potential to happen.
Yeah, it took a while to build to what Jim's saying.
Mm-hmm.
The 17 Hats didn't happen overnight. The Zoho Social and Hootsuite before that didn't happen overnight. A lot of research went into making it as effective as it is these days. Planning.
Planning. Well, you get the next question, Guy T.
Uh-oh.
And here it is. Do you plan time to plan? And I would assume the answer is yes, but how much time do you plan?
I don't need very much time, to be honest with you, through those automation tools. Now that I've got the foundation built, a lot of it is self-automated. You basically build templates where you start with saying that, okay, what is a specific workflow? And I'll just borrow the type of clients I use. Like I said, the most common is headshots. So I know that I'm going to need to do certain things to get their attention, and I'm going to need a certain workflow to get that, right? Because of that, I'm already planning on a near constant basis. It's through automation to do certain posts that remind them what it is that I do. And like I said, I've already done that, here it is May, and I've already got it taken care of for December. Now, of course, I'm going to drop some things in it more live, like the gentleman I worked with just a little bit ago. In his particular case, he may get dropped in there somewhere, but I'm also going back to some of the archives and saying, and using specific examples for clients that I just reuse over and over and again to drive home what it is I do. But the planning side of it, like the marketing stuff, I can sit down and in one quick morning, plan out the entire year. And then with the 17 Hats, it's doing a lot of the dirty work behind the scenes because I already got all that stuff automated, an automated plan, so to speak, long time ago when I first subscribed to 17 Hats. Again, it took a while to build it. There was a lot of, whoops, that doesn't work. That didn't work. So I would say to get all the bugs out of it took probably over 6 months or so. Just, trying ideas and do it this way instead. So, did I answer what you asked, Jim?
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. At the beginning, it was probably a massive amount, but because of the tools that you have chosen to use in your business, that time has drastically decreased because of
Right.
getting used to using it, knowing how to use the tools, and I'm sure there's some things that repeat themselves, and so you don't have to start from scratch on a lot of things.
Yeah, it's a lot like, somebody using Lightroom or Photoshop. You use presets, your life just got easy. Same idea.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank
And
you.
let's ask that same question of, let's see, who's next? Esmeralda.
Yay! Well, I already said that I do plan on Sundays, right? I mean, I look at my calendar every week, and each day, on Sunday I look at the week just to see what's coming up ahead, and then each morning I look at what's going on for that day, and then make lists accordingly. I'm a list person, of that I gotta check stuff off so that I know that I get stuff done. Um, so, but I mean, I understand in the portrait world that you got to set certain times during the year for certain things. Like important events. Senior sessions or Christmas time sessions or that kind of thing. And that's of course forward thinking for me right now, but I can see where I'm going to have to do that kind of like carve out certain time periods for these big events that happen throughout the year, depending on what I'm going to focus on. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Do you do you see yourself as more cyclical, where the same things happen every single year, or do you see yourself as doing special projects where everything is different every time, but maybe there's some similarity to that, or is it just kind of chaos? You just take what comes along.
well, I think at the moment it might look chaotic, but once I start, kind of, um, focusing on what I'm really going to focus on, and then it'll become more cyclical, I guess, like you say, throughout the year. So,
Good.
because I don't do well with chaos, constant chaos. So, yeah.
Yep. And we shouldn't have to deal with constant chaos. It's
Mhm.
There's too many other things we want to deal with, and it's too time consuming to reinvent the wheel every single time we
Yep.
do things. So yeah, very good. Thanks, Esmeralda.
Sure.
And let's ask that same question of Victoria. Victoria, do you plan time to plan?
Uh, to be honest, I don't plan like a specific day or time of the day, to plan things. It's due to the fact that I'm on social media constantly. I do like currently the season is graduation portraits. All right now, it's the season of graduation. Um, so it's between May and June, so I like to plan ahead of that time, but mostly it is on the whim. It's just what works for me is just seeing what is going on during this time, and just seeing the trends and the during this different seasons is what has helped me. um Again, it goes back to planning ahead in advance, knowing more or less what's coming up, making sure like my advertisement slash marketing is up to par with it. And um it's just to the point where I'm on top of it daily, either way. So um, I don't really have a sit down. If I do, see something that I'm already ready to plan, then I will like take like about 30 minutes to an hour just to plan for the rest of the week. But more or less, like I said, it's on the whim.
And do you see this as being the way you currently do things as being a good way to continue because it works for you, or do you see something else on the horizon that you're going to try in the future? Did it stop? Can you hear me? I think our audio went out. Can you hear me now? Are you able to hear me, Victoria? We can see you. We just can't hear you. That working? Oh man. All right. So it looks like Victoria's audio has gone out, and so uh, the Victoria, I don't know if you're able to see if you can fix that, but I'll come back to you. I'm gonna move to let's see. Let's go to Guy T for this next question. Guy T, you're up.
Yes, sir.
All right. So uh, we just talked about taking time to plan. Now, and we touched on tools, but let's talk more about the tools. What
Okay.
tools are you using to help with your business planning? And that's any type of tool. So, some people use physical tools, and you mentioned that you're using online tools. But I mean, if it's calendars, if it's string on the wall, calendar programs, apps, whatever tools you use, share those with us.
Well, the 17 hats allows you to, and I apologize if somebody didn't know what I'm talking about there, but it is the number 17 and then the word hats, all one word. 17 hats. Take a look on that, 17hats.com. That helps you plan so many different things, again, based on a workflow that you want to work. Beyond that, let's just say that you were to visit my website, whatsthatguysname.com, and you were to click on there to pick a booking, because it does have a booking app in it. You would then see, based on what page you were on my site, you might be shown all the headshot options. But if you picked on the senior page, you'd see all the senior options. If you were to pick the portraits, you would see the portrait options. That's all that kind of stuff you have to build up front. When you do sign up online, I'm already going to know what you signed up for, because it's going to tell me that you picked the 1 hour session, the 2 hour session, or whatever. It will then automatically send out a follow-up saying thank you, and by the way, let's cover your deposit. And of course, it says it in a nicer way than that, but it automatically sends out a invoice that they can pay online 24/7, and that goes straight into my Square account. That takes care of their deposit, means that they're legit. They weren't just messing around, because I'm sure we've all been there where you've had appointments that never showed up or whatever. Putting that deposit out there, that's part of my workflow to make sure that, okay, if they're committed, they'll give me a deposit. If they don't, I'm going to make a quick phone call to follow up to make sure that they're really committed, because I don't want to be spinning my wheels waiting for somebody that's not going to show up. Once I'm done with that transaction and we get to the actual shoot, we can also finish that portion of it, the actual session fee itself, above and beyond the deposit. We can take care of that in Square, goes into the same account. And then I do a follow-up to give them their actual products and services through a site that is also tied into 17 Hats. And of course, another site where the actual finishing site is Pixie Set, that allows them to view their images in case they needed to review them and tell me which ones they want to move forward with. So that's another tool. Pixie Set is doing that all automatic. We don't need to have a one-on-one conversation, which more and more these days, people don't want to sit down with me and do a Zoom and walk through and pick their stuff out. They'd rather sit with their loved one, maybe even driving down the road. I had clients do that before, where they pick out what they want. They tell me what they want as far as products and services, because that's available to them in Pixie Set as well. And a lot of times I don't even have to touch it, especially with my headshot customers. With those that are seniors and portraits, it's a little bit different. But again, in 17 Hats, you can make different workflows. All of this stuff that I've just mentioned is also visible on all my different electronic devices, and includes Google Calendar, Microsoft Outlook. They're all talking to each other, so there's no chance that I'm going to let something slip by. I may be driving down the road by myself and just ask my wife, hey, you mind driving for just a minute, because we're going to have to take care of something here real fast. It just makes things so much easier. And again, no paper trail. I love the way it stores the client information for me, so I can go back a month later, 2 months later, and follow up and say, we never did talk about X, or it's been a year, let's get back together, yada yada yada, that sort of thing. But all those different electronic automation tools have meant a world of difference to me. When I first started off in the business, I was spinning my wheels a lot, had paper stacks all over the place. And so those two have helped both me and my clients tremendously, and making it much, much more easy for them to do business with me as well as a result. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You mentioned earlier about not having stacks of papers and reducing that kind of thing. I started my business in 1995. I've been a full-time photographer since 1991. I just worked with others, but it was all paper then.
Yeah.
And I had file cabinets upon file cabinets of stuff. And when at some point when I decided to put all this online, I had all this paper accumulated.
Right.
And what a pain it was to deal with that. My first thought was, all right, let's take the time to enter every single one of these into the database. And I had apprentices. I had apprentice program at that time, and so I had 2 or 3 working on it at any one time. And it got to the point where that's all they were doing, and I was thinking, this is not fair for them.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Get rid of all the stuff. Just get rid of it. Just trash it.
Well, it drives your costs up as well. which
I had them shred it. I didn't,
yeah,
but
yeah,
'cause that's a legal issue. But it was so much that it accumulated, and having everything online, being able to just access on your desktop or on your phone, getting someone's contact information and making a phone call, giving yourself a message that says, uh, uh, a reminder to yourself that they say they're going to Africa in July, and set yourself a date to call them to check how did that go. I mean, when you've got that kind of a relationship with someone, that really shows. It shows them that you care, and you do. You're just using something to help you because you've got a million things going on in your life.
yeah,
You're gonna forget about that,
yeah.
but you
Two of
don't
our
want
largest,
to.
two of our larger medical professional groups right here in the area. Um, I can tell you anything and everything you want to know about their repeat services, and that's in my mind part of the reason why I do have the repeat business is because I know so much about them. I can dig something up 5 years ago and say, sure, I'll have it to you in just a minute,
Nice,
right? Yeah, quick and easy
nice.
search and okay.
So many tools available to us, and it just keeps on getting better.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing what all these little things can do for you. That
Hmm.
yeah, can't imagine trying to do it by myself otherwise.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I suppose you could, but you'd have a totally different business model,
and a lot more
and you,
expensive.
yeah, you'd have to charge a lot more to make it work.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, thank you for that, Guy T.
yes, sir.
I'm gonna bring Victoria back on. Victoria, can I hear you now?
Yeah, I can
Yay!
do.
Well, tell me, what tools are you using to help you with your business planning? And that can be any type of tool. It could be physical things like a calendar up on the wall. It could be a string going across, where you just tack up things on, or some type of newer invention like an app on your cell phone. What kind of tools are you using?
So I use either the Google Calendar or the iPhone Calendar. Depends on what the customers have. I do use Square when it comes to like sending invoices, keeping customer information on on file and everything like that. Um, we're still working on the on the kinks of it, but my boyfriend was able to create an app for our small business, and what it was is it just linked us to contracts, digital contracts, because beforehand I would bring the contracts in person for them to sign, like a print release and all that. um, but again, we were just trying to, we would always think about, where are we going to put them? It's just going to, store room and it's going to take over, on certain places. So we just did everything digital. We have digital contracts to where we can send to our clients with our invoices, to where, we inform them, you can complete this digitally and then just email it right back to us. And then we have it on file. We have everything, stored on our computer, more space on there. um, so everything, even with Square and invoices, I can put like, like some customers I provide like where they can make their payment installments. So while I'm creating the invoice, I do put reminders of when certain payments are due, or when their final payment is due. Everything is sent through a reminder to an email. It's almost also sent to me, so we're both informed of that. So I like so I use the Google Calendar, the iPhone calendar, or Square. Square is my most favorite, and just our little tester app right now for all our additional contracts right
All right, good. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And I'm glad your audio is working again.
now. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Well, it's a thing of the past. It's a good thing. All right. Well, thank you, Victoria. And let's bring on Esmeralda to answer that same question. Esmeralda, what tools are you using for your business planning?
So, I mean, besides the calendars, I also use a program called MindNode, to kind of help me break things down, and how I need to do like basically like flow charts and stuff like that, of how things are gonna plan out for whatever I'm working on. I'm also using Trello to individualize certain projects, and then And one of the things that I have also is like one of those large post-it notes that you kind of put on your wall, and I do squares and write notes and kind of check things off as I'm going along in the week too. So I kind of do like a dual paper and computer kind of thing. So those are the things that I use at this time. And I'm gonna sign up for 17 hats. So
Yeah, there's so many good tools out there.
mm,
Someone often I get this question often is which one of them is best. It'd be like saying which screwdriver is best. They are all good. I mean, maybe there's some exceptions, but for the most part, they're all good. But they're all just tools to help you get done what it is you're trying to get done. And so
mhm,
you will, narrow it down to maybe three, four, five, and you just try those. They all have free trials, so try them and see what they're all about. Watch their YouTube videos, watch their videos that are on their page, and narrow down to the tools you feel are going to be best for your business. But of course, we have to start by, and you tell me if you agree with this, if someone is starting out, they need to know what it is that they do and what they're trying to accomplish. So they need to start off with them first. What am I doing here? What am I trying to accomplish? Before they start jumping into which tool is the right tool. Because it'd be like saying which road is the right road. Well, you've got to
mhm.
define where you're going first. And that will tell you which road is the right road. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I mean, you have to kind of basically brainstorm and figure out what from the beginning and where you want to end up and how you're going to get there. So it's all
All
planning.
right. Well, I have the next question here for you.
Oh, yay.
And that's how has your business and life changed since you got serious about planning?
Oh gosh, I'd have to go back about 30 years. So like I said, I've always been a planner. All it does for me is just keeps me organized. And so that I know the big picture of where I want to go, and I use my planning to get where I want to get. So but I mean that's always been something, gosh, I probably since the late 80s I've been using planners of different kinds, of course, because we've progressed from the little things that they used to make before and stuff. So um that's it then, so
Can you imagine what your life would be like if you didn't plan?
no.
You don't even want to go there, huh?
No, 'cause I'm a busy person, like I have to keep myself organized.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Have you heard that saying, if you need something done, give it to a busy person?
No.
I
Mm-mm.
have, and it's the truth. Because busy people plan so that they can get done all the things they want to get done.
Mm-hmm. You
So
make it
if you
fit.
want something done, give it to a busy person, not the person who's got plenty of time and could use a project or two. Uh, give it to if this is when you really want to get it done. If you're just being nice, that's a different story. But if you really want to get something done, give it to a busy person. They'll figure it
Mhm.
out. They'll get it done.
They'll pencil it in somewhere.
They'll make it happen. Yeah,
Right.
it's like they're magic, but it's because planning is magic. It's
Mhm.
what causes you to get what you want. Yeah. Thank you for that, Esmeralda.
Mhm.
And so that that same question on planning goes to Victoria. Victoria, can you uh, tell us how you feel about that? How has your business and life changed since you got serious about planning?
Um, I can honestly say, just recently, yeah, last year we became an LLC. So there has been a lot more serious planning involved. Um, it's it's just to it just comes to organization, and if we didn't have planning, it would be very chaotic, and we probably would be failing right now. So um, if it wasn't for planning, our business wouldn't be where it is right now.
Makes a lot of sense. So, uh, what what things would be harmed first? If you stopped planning altogether, things don't just fall apart immediately. I assume there's probably some things. What are your major concerns? What would happen if you just something happened? You weren't able to do any planning. The word fell out of your vocabulary. What's going to fail first?
Oh boy. Um, I don't know what would fail first. Um, but I would just us, as the company would just fail altogether. I mean, without being planned and organized,
Hmm.
um, nothing is going to work. It doesn't matter. It, to me, it doesn't matter what's first. It's nothing cannot work without the other. So
Okay.
to me, it's like it's either this or that, I guess you could say.
And do you consider planning to be on the just the day to day, the getting the jobs done, or do you consider planning to be what you're doing 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Is that part of planning, or is it part of what you choose to do?
Um, I like to do both day to day, and I like to make 5, 10, 15-year goals. Of course, those always change
Sure.
from time to time because when
Your
I
next week
yes
plans
they
probably change. So.
yeah, they always change. Just like when I was at the Art Institute, my goals for 5, 10 years were to be in California and be a film editor, but of course that didn't happen. But it came to where, we have a business, so that is a whole completely different route. Um, but it all comes. It's like it's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
um, I mean, yeah, like I said, if we don't have the organization, especially communication, we wouldn't have that, especially, like how. So one of the main things that of course, we have, and probably whatever photographer has, is their own business website. That is the most important thing because nowadays that's where everyone's going to see your work besides social media. Um, when I didn't have one, of course, that kind of was a negative part. But right now, the way we have it up, we run it through HubSpot, and that is kind of also what helps our organization is the way it helps with, making sure everything's organized. It does help with our marketing. It does help us send emails to all our customers through Square. Um, so, I
So
mean,
you use HubSpot as your CRM, your client relationship management program.
we use HubSpot.
Good.
So it's a
Okay.
learning process again because we are fairly new to being part of or being an LLC. It's a completely new field game when it comes to that because it's bigger than just being just having your name. So there's a lot of challenges happening with it, but it's just keeping organized and my boyfriend and I keeping in our communication to make sure we're all on the same page.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and just continue forward with our goals because that's routes may change, but the goal doesn't. So
Okay. I like that. Thanks, Victoria.
yeah.
That same question is going to Guy T. Guy T,
Wow.
how has your business and life changed?
Um, well, I don't know if you're looking for a specific case study, but I know that some of the automation tools we've elaborated on, the planning that we've elaborated on, also include some other tools that I've used to double my business during COVID. And that also took some planning, took some uh, research to find the right tool to do it at the right price point. Because you can spend $10 on something, you can spend $1,000 on something. So you want to find that sweet spot where it fits your specific needs, and then run with it. But yeah, it doubling my business during COVID meant the world to me because I was like so many of us thinking, okay, how do we shut this down? How do we make the most of it? All those different things bouncing in your head. People left and right were throwing away their studios that they'd worked so hard for, and yeah, with planning and taking advantage different again electronic resources that I like to use as much as possible. I'm still here. I'm doing well. So
Nice. Doubled your business during COVID.
Yeah, yeah.
Not a whole lot
Not
of
by, not
people
by
are saying
myself.
that.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, if my ad, I consider all these different resources we've talked about, 17 hats and you know, the show it that I use for a website and Pixie set and all these other things. I consider those my employees, and so reaching out to those folks every once in a while and asking them something other than just for technical support or something like that, getting to know who I'm working with, has built some great relationships. So if you're outsourcing anything or using any of those other resources, truly consider those folks as employees. Yeah, you're allowed to fire them. I've used different websites for the customer ending, to the customer facing portion of my business, but I got rid of them because they weren't doing what I needed them to do for my customers and for my clients. So by treating them like employees, though, you get to learn those things that are really important, well above and beyond, just the rudimentary skill sets of them. But I treat them as employees. I make sure to reach out to them every so often, just tell them thank you. Hey, I really like this new improvement you just made, yada, yada, yada. And now when I type in something in the chat box or if I give them a quick phone call, it's a first name basis. So
Nice. Relationships are huge
yeah.
in portrait photography.
Yeah, and every once in a while you got to break one, but that happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I've got the next question for you.
Uh-oh.
What advice would you give yourself about planning
Mm.
if you were just starting out? Or what are you sharing with someone who's brand new who's asking your advice?
Whew, that's a good one. The other ones are good as well, but I like that one a lot. If I had to look back, I would say go ahead and don't be afraid to make a mistake. Now, like you mentioned before, a lot of companies use trial plans. Take advantage of those trial plans during your slower months. We all know there's going to be a slower month for whatever niche it is that you happen to be in. And take advantage of those slow months, not to just sit on the couch and watch another episode of Law and Order or something, but instead to try those different trial things while you maybe even if you already have a solution, but see what those other things do. Because what's surprising is I mentioned Square. I didn't used to be with Square, but they've continued to make some improvements recently that got me to sidestep one of the preferred vendors from the past. And you wouldn't know that unless you were doing those trials. And if you make a mistake, learn from that. It's actually not really a mistake. It's an opportunity to learn something, right? And if you look at your workflow and you don't think it's good enough, there's probably somebody with a solution out there, if not a half a dozen, that do the exact same thing you're wanting to do. And so your to-do list would be to evaluate a half a dozen different trials to see if they truly fit. I was evaluating things like, is it Android based or iOS only, which I never understood those companies that do that. Does it work with Google and Microsoft? What kind of tools do they have? Does it include invoicing? And if it does, what does it cost, if any? You got to really dig, and that's the nice thing about those trials. Most trial plans will let you get pretty deep. By the way, Esmeralda mentioned 17 hats. Esmeralda, check your Facebook because I just sent you a link to 17 hats. They'll get you 50% off if you don't already have one of those codes. So,
Well, that was nice of you.
thank you. Well, it's a freebie. Comes with it.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And that's good advice. I mean, when we have some free time, how are we spending it?
Right.
We do need to spend some time just being silly and wasting some time, sure.
Yeah.
But we don't need another episode of Law and Order. I agree. Thank you for that, KT. All right. So that same question is going to Esmeralda. Esmeralda, what advice would you give yourself about planning if you were just starting out?
So I guess I'd have to piggyback. Thank you, Guy, for the code. I did receive it. I appreciate that. But piggyback off what he's saying is just jump in there and make mistakes, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, and just use them as opportunities to continue to learn and to grow. And I think that's the biggest thing. Because you always want to try to make everything make it fit in the perfect little box and make it just right before you want to start. But all you're doing is killing time, and you're still going to make mistakes. So you might as well just make them and learn along the way, So I think that's great. Because I've been doing this photography thing for a long time, and like I said, I'm just now like, okay, you know what? If I want to start making some serious money in this, I need to start taking pictures of people, So That's where I'm at, and so it's taking me this long. That's okay. I'll learn and move forward. So just new goals.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, you said that to go ahead and make mistakes. We're going to be making mistakes anyway. So let's stop wasting time and get out there and do it. There's so many of us creatives that fall in that category. There are some that just spend all of their time in learning and accumulation, mental, physical, or excuse me, knowledge accumulation. And while of course we want to do that, I know a handful, maybe several, who have taken lots of classes with me, taken lots of classes with others, and they really don't have much to show for their business. They seem to be the right person. They seem to have the right personality. They are kind, considerate. They seem like they would be just the best person to work with clients and know and anticipate what it is they're going to do. It just seems like they're perfect, but something causes them to not actually jump out there and do it. Do you have any idea what that could be?
Fear, just the fear of failure, maybe.
Fear of
You know.
failure.
So
So looking bad amongst the people who they want to look good in front of, and so they're just trying to accumulate more knowledge and more information so they can just be perfect. But I've known a handful that have been studying with me and others for years. I actually get kind of on them when they do that around me, because I understand it because I'm the same way. I just am not as bad. So
right.
how do you get a person to do that? I guess show them what they've done so far and to ask them if that's what they want.
Hmm.
And if that's not it, we got to change it. So following your advice, Esmeralda, you're going to make mistakes anyway. You're going
Yeah.
to at times not look the ideal way you want to look. So go ahead and get out there and make it happen. Imperfect action is the way to make things happen. Is that
And
what I'm hearing from you?
well, and things change so rapidly that by the time you figure out your little box, it's already different anyway.
Oh, that's
So just
good.
keep going forward.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, thank you for that, Esmeralda.
mhm, sure.
So that same question is going to Victoria. So, what advice would you give yourself if you were starting today?
Um, Practice. I mean, that's something I've been telling myself ever since I first started. Um, like they say, if at first you don't succeed, try again. So, and also practice makes perfect. So there have been some things where, I look back on very early work that I used to do, and now I kind of cringe at it. And compared to now, you see the improvement. So the advice I would give is just to keep practicing and never be satisfied until until you are at a place that you are happy with it yourself. um of course, there, everyone right now, there's a lot of people that are photographers right now. So it's also another question you have to ask yourself, what is it that's going to make me stand out as a photographer, as a professional, aside from the many other photographers that are out there. What's going to set me apart from them. um there have been many times, during this whole journey from since I first graduated to now, where I wanted to quit, to where I wanted to just put it aside. Even recent to where I thought maybe I should just put it to rest and focus on something else. There are many doubts that I have had, for the business, just based on, how there are slow periods of time. And then, like, during COVID, we miraculously had a lot of clientele during COVID. Um, so it's the advice I would just give myself is just to keep pushing through, to keep having those goals, to, adapt to what's around you, what's given to you, and just keep going. Just never stop, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, that's like, never stop improving yourself is what I would say.
Nice. I like that. And you know what? It sounds like you've answered also the next question, or the next comment is closing thoughts. How would, is there anything that you would share with with the viewers here, that just an overall view on planning? It sounds like you might have already just done that, but do you have anything else you wanted to share?
I mean, if this is going to be your passion, then do it. If this is what you think about every day, go and do it. Like they say, if you enjoy what you do, it's not going to be considered as work. You're going to love what you do. So, um, what Guy T said earlier, how he was one of the rare ones that would read the manual to equipment and all that stuff. Well, there was a class when I was at AI, that required us to read the manual for our camera, and we had to rewrite every single word, every single page. So I would say that is brutal, but it also did help, to know what it is that my camera is capable of. That is also what's important, for a photographer, is to know the equipment that they're working with. It's not just something you buy and you click and shoot. You gotta know, your tool, your camera's your tool. You gotta know what it is that what you're doing with it, what it can do, what it can provide for you. And it's really how you use it. So, yeah, I mean, I would just say, it's don't be ashamed to start from the bottom. Even if it's just I started with the Canon T5i, and that, and stock lenses. I mean, I still use that, and I have a Canon T7i. Hoping to upgrade soon. But the thing is, what I've learned even while in school was just, in film school, was just, it's it's how you create with what you got. Because anyone can have the most expensive equipment, and yet they don't know what they're doing with it. So you just got to get out there and keep practicing, keep improving, because that's what you can do. That's what artists do, is they're always wanting to improve and set themselves apart from anyone else. So I would just say, just, if this is what you love, do it. That's something that I always follow by.
I agree. We creatives who enjoy and have a passion for photography, it's part of us, and,
Mm-hmm.
and we know it. You've probably seen this, just like I have. There's been people who have, that I've known, who have stepped away from their, not their, they know for sure they have an interest in photography, but they've moved away from it because they couldn't find out how to make the business side work, or some other reason, and gone on to do other things, and then at some point just came back to it. They were called to it. They were drawn to it. They really couldn't help themselves. So, yeah, as you were saying, Victoria, if you know this is something you want to do, then you've got to do it.
Yeah.
And you've got to push yourself in that direction. And even if it's uncomfortable, like Esmeralda was saying, you have to make that imperfect action. You've got to move forward. You're going to make mistakes, even if you think you're perfect. You've got everything just right. And you never get to that point where you think you're just right, where everything's perfect.
Yeah, you're always.
So,
Yeah, it's like I was saying, it's like there have been challenges, especially right now with the LLC. There have been so many doubts to where it's like, were we ready for this? Should we have done this? Because we're still, figuring out our business plan. Because that's the most important thing, is figuring out your business plan and where you want it to go. And like how when we had lunch with you, the one of the biggest goals is to have that warehouse where I can, fit multiple printers for our print and graphic design, and then big enough to have a photo shoot going on for as big as a semi. So that's the biggest goal. That is where I want to reach, and that's the goal I've had for many years. Right now it seems kind of far-fetched. But that's just something that I keep having in my mind, along with some other stuff that I dream about doing. But that is the most biggest goal that I have, is to have that. um Again, there have been doubts about it, to where I have wanted to just step away from it, but I've been too scared to. So I just, I keep pushing, and even when it comes to funding the business itself, that's another struggle, especially right now with the way things are going. Um, it's we figure out a way. It's always to where you're gonna find a way to make it work, because it's what you want.
yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria. And thank you for giving so freely of your time this evening to help out other photographers in the community. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
And let's get Esmeralda's closing thoughts. Esmeralda, what do you have to what can you share with our viewers this evening?
So just like we've been saying, like just jump in there and try. Like I said, one of my goals right now is to, um, I I I want my day job to be photography, not the healthcare industry. And it might be 3 years from now, 5 years from now. I don't know. It might be a year from now. You know, right now it's just about carving out what is the niche that I really want to focus on. Of course, the portrait is going to be new for me, and just trying to figure out how I'm gonna make it work. That's just a driven person that I am. That I'll find a way to make it happen. And like I said, there will be mistakes along the way, and that's okay. Just learn from it and pick yourself up and keep moving forward. And just stay positive and just get better and better, as you're going along. So, um, but that is my current goal. So, of course, in our group, I love hearing the other photographers, because it's really motivating for me to hear, because I'm just at the beginning of this stage for me and finding the niche, that I want to focus on and going from there. So I'm excited. So.
I think exciting what you're doing. Um, you're you're going the path that a lot of people go, or they have some type of full time income, and they're going to need to replace it when they get their business going. But they're moving forward with those plans, with those goals, with those dreams, while they have some other business full time job that they're doing, which is probably very tiring. You probably come home tired, and yet you push yourself anyway because you know that the result of all this time that you're pushing yourself is you get to step away from what you don't want into what you feel is ideal. So
Exactly.
I'm excited for
Exactly.
you, and I look forward to watching you grow, Esmeralda.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here this evening.
Mhm.
You are just by being here helping out people who are in the same position as you, or maybe something totally different, but they're hearing a point of view that they may not have heard before, and maybe hear just that little spark that causes them to move right in the direction that causes them to reach their goals. So thank you for all you're doing and investing your time with photographers.
You're welcome.
All right. So let's go to Guy T. Guy T, do you have some closing thoughts for us?
Yeah, let me first say thank you very much to Victoria and Esmeralda and yourself, the folks at the printing lab as well, all of you folks for allowing me to join you this evening. I really do appreciate the opportunity. Um, Also, Robert McGath, trials is as in software free trials, where they'll give you a week, they'll give you a month, whatever. That's what I was talking about when I meant by trials. Most software vendors online will give you a 7-day trial, a 1-month trial, whatever it happens to be. Now, to what you said though, the other thing I want to give kudos to everyone on is education. It's great to see you folks uh, working with Jim and working with other organizations as well for your educational needs, because to me, that's the biggest part about planning a career is what are you going to be better at tomorrow? If you're not better off tomorrow, figure out a way, right? Education is really, really critical in my mind, whether it's from Jim or another resource. There's so many great resources out there. TPPA has been my family, so to speak, to help develop my career, and finding that right mentor to take me to that next level and push me a little bit, just like Jim does day in and day out for all of you folks. But yeah, again, thank you for allowing me to be here. Kudos to those of you who joined us this evening as well for taking yourself to another level. And I very much appreciate your time and your attention.
Guy T, we're honored to have you here, knowing that
Thank you, sir.
that you've been helping out photographers for years. That you've dedicated your time not only to yourself and your business and making them have the most wonderful experience and a lifetime of memories, but also expanding on that and sharing with those around you so that they can be uplifted. So I'm curious about your philosophy there, because we know that some photographers are very generous with their time and attention and uplifting others, but not everyone is. What causes you to be so generous with your time?
Um, it's going to sound like a joke, but you know what the word Texas means, right?
Yes.
And it means Tejas, a Caddo Indian word, means friend or ally. So if you may ever meet anybody who's from Texas but is not nice, ask them to leave because we don't want them here. But it's you and I are not put on this earth for us. We're put here for others, right? And the least important word is I. The most important word is we. And so if you live that opportunity mindset, it's not a problem. It's an opportunity. If you live that mindset of us, not me, not I, that kind of stuff. It's a more fulfilling life for me at least, and I really enjoy what I do.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've heard Guy T speak, and he's fantastic. And so anytime you guys hear of him speaking at PPSA, that would be local or anywhere else where you happen to be, make it happen. You want to hear him speak.
I was thank you very much for that, by the way. I was talking today about opportunities within TPPA, and I said, sure would be nice if we go to Bernie. Wouldn't it be nice if we were in Bernie over there at Tapatio Springs?
Yeah.
So,
I haven't been there since they
backyard.
redid the place, so
Yeah.
I haven't gone over there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. All right, so I want to bring each one of you guys back on real quick, just for a goodbye with all of you, and Amanda too. Oh, you want to be on it?
Hello, Amanda.
Hello again.
What is it, buddy? Gray, my husky, has his chin on my arm, so for now he's not anymore. But for a moment, I couldn't change anything on the screen. Now I can. He walked away. But that's telling me, hey, Dad, do you see the time? It's about time you started playing with me. I'm going to give you a few more moments. I'll walk away, but when I come back. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Amanda, did you want to share anything with them?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all so much for your time, for helping us, Jim and I uplift the photography community. As I'm sure you well know, as you definitely expressed, at least kind of what I get from it and what I get from owning my own business as well is, entrepreneurship can be a very lonely job, but we do have each other, which is why we put on something like Portrait Profits to show others that this doesn't have to be very isolated. There are others that are in the same situations that you are, dealing with the same problems. At the end of the day, we are problem solvers. And you have shared a lot of the solutions to the problems that you've had to tackle as business owners. So thank you so much for sharing those things with everybody, with me, with Jim. I know I get a lot from it as well, listening to, what everybody goes through and some of the tools and things that you've learned along the way. I definitely implement them on my own in my own business. So thank you for that, for your time and for your thought.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be closing out the show, but one last thank you to all three of our wonderful panelists, Guy T. Phillips, Victoria Zamora, and Esmeralda Hinojosa. Thank you guys for being here this evening.
Thanks, everybody. That's great.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
All right. So, Amanda, another great panel. They were fantastic as usual. So, did you learn anything from that?
Oh, I learned so much. I don't even think I don't know where to start, but it just reaffirms for me that, we have a lot of people, a lot of resources out there, and we have a community that we can tap into very easily. And I'm really excited that we have Portrait Profits, because I know when those individuals come up here as panelists, I know that those that are watching, the viewers, can actually see them. And, because we do this on social media too, it's very easy to communicate with them and just reach out and ask them questions. And I think it's great. So I'm glad.
Nice. Well, you have some things you wanted to share with Digital Pro Lab. So let's hear about that.
Let me get my banners up over here on my right side. Right. So those of you that are not familiar with Digital Pro Lab, or me, I'm Amanda. I'm one of the owners, along with my husband, at Digital Pro Lab here in San Antonio, Texas. We are the largest professional full-service photo lab in our parts. And we, in partnership with Jim Landers Photography School, sponsor Portrait Profits, because just like him, we want to uplift our photography community. We want y'all to know that there's a resource for you, because part of building a successful portrait business and making profit is adding services like printing to your offerings, because that allows you to provide additional services that could generate more revenue for you. So we, as a professional photo lab, actually offer several different types of substrates, several different types of services that you can then offer to your clients. And we help you every step of the way. And specifically for our professional photographers, we do like to do a lot of education on what we call monitor match. So if you're editing your images on your monitor, we want to make sure that you're educated to the point that you realize that it needs to be calibrated, so that what you see is what you get from a professional photo lab, and you're not having to guess that or hope that it's going to come out the way that you saw it. All that time and effort spent editing was not in vain. So our monitor match print workflow is actually geared towards the professional photographers editing their images on a calibrated monitor. And we offer very, very deep discounts to our professional photographers so that you can in turn take that margin and help to grow your own business. So I've added that information here. So if you're not signed up with Digital Pro Lab, or if you have used Digital Pro Lab or use us and don't have a monitor match account, we want to make sure that you're aware of that. Just go over to digitalprolab.com. There's going to be an ordering button. Just go ahead and click on that and click on monitor match. There's going to be a lot of information there, as well as the sign up. I'll get notice of that, and we'll go ahead and get you registered and signed up with full access to all of the products and services within that print workflow that we've set up. So I do want to mention that. The other thing is, as always, we do something very special for Portrait Profits every single week, which is give something like a discount or something free that only the Portrait Profit viewers get access to, because you're watching and you see it, especially if you watched all the way to the end, right? So this week we're doing 30% off 11 by 14 metal panel prints with code METAL for May. And that's going to be good starting tomorrow through Sunday, May 15th. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. Our metal prints are very, very popular, and we don't only offer them in white substrate, we also do silver. So that silver substrate, anything white in an image doesn't actually come out white. It's going to come out silver, but it actually comes and looks really interesting. I've got one sample. I'm going to just try and show it in the screen really quick. So give me 2 seconds to jump up. This is a portrait of an individual, and that was done on silver metal. So you can see with a black and white portrait just how interesting that looks. It just gives it a different feel, a different style, a little bit more modern, a little bit more visually interesting. So those are the types of things that we work with our photographers to try and create. We really have a good gauge of different types and styles of photography, and the products that we have and offer really have the knowledge and ability to help you create something that isn't just a standard print, but it's something that's going to set you apart. So that's what we did for that individual with that type of portrait that he did. So I wanted to make sure that y'all were aware of that. So take advantage of that 30% off for the next week, because that is a very popular product if you haven't tried metal yet. Other announcements. If you're looking for photo events, Digital Pro Lab, we try and get as many events on our calendar when we know about them. So, Jim, if you've got some events coming up, you'll let us know ahead of time. We'll add them to our calendar, but we do have other events that we've got up there as well. So just go on over to digitalprolab.com/events, or just click on events at the top, and you'll see that we've got some upcoming events. And I'm just going to go ahead and list 2 of the upcoming ones, and they happen to be on the same day. So the first one's Espresso and Edits. That's where, in partnership with Camera Exchange here in San Antonio, which is our local camera shop, we put on something called Espresso and Edits. It's a great, relaxed kind of just meet and greet of people. We go take our laptops. We've got Lightroom installed or Photoshop. We just sit down, edit our photos together among like-minded photographers, videographers, and other individuals that want to learn. And it's usually for about 3 or 4 hours, or you come and go as you please, and you just learn from each other. And again, that's another way that we want to bring people together. So I hope you come to that if you have the ability to. I know, Guy, you're probably a little further away. And then we also have our GSAC print competition coming up that same day, but it's going to be in the evening at Digital Pro Lab. So again, we encourage printing. We want you to be confident in the prints that you're producing, and print competitions like this allow you another avenue to actually explore and learn from other individuals, because they'll be presenting their prints as well, and they're going to have a live critique at the print competition. So it's not just put your print into the competition, walk away and get an email that tells you, oh, you won or you didn't. It's actually live. You're going to get feedback in real time on your print and your image that you're presenting. And you're going to see it alongside other images within different categories. So I encourage you, if you don't feel as confident in your printing abilities, to go ahead and utilize events like this to build that confidence that you need, again, among our community that wants to support each other. So hopefully you will join us for both or one of those events. And those are the ones that we've got coming up. Other than that, I think that's what I've got planned for right now, Jim.
Very cool. Lots of good stuff coming up. And thank you for that 30% off deal on the 11x14. And that print you showed, that was really nice.
I know. Yeah, that was from a good friend of mine, Josh Jordan. I don't know if you remember him.
Yes, I know Josh.
Yeah, amazing photographer. So I actually purchased that print from him, because I do like to support photographers as well. And sometimes I see very unique stuff that comes in, and I just have to have it. So we work with them.
That's fantastic. Very good. Well, thank you, Amanda, for all that you do. I'm going to share a couple of things, and then we're going to close out this episode of the Portrait Profit Show. So let's see. I'm going to tell you about a couple of the next week's show. I need to change out that banner. There we go. Upcoming shows. So next week is on our regular schedule at noon on Mondays. And so make sure that's on your calendar, noon this coming Monday, right here where you're watching it right now. And the topic for next week is going to be on phone calls, but it's about selling the experience and not sounding salesy. So let's put that up on the screen so you can see that. So next week's topic is, when you're on the phone, sell the experience and not in a way that sounds salesy. We none of us want to sound salesy. So how do we do that? We can identify it when someone else is doing it. Are we making sure we're not? Let's talk about it. We're going to talk about a sales script and building your own sales script. Now, script does not mean read it. Do not ever read a sales script. You know what that sounds like. This is a guide to make sure that you're staying on track and that you're sharing everything that you want to share and that you ask the right questions. And right just means what's right for you and what your goals are. It's totally customized to what you're trying to do. So again, that is next Monday, this coming Monday, 1 week from today at noon, we'll be talking about phone call, selling the experience without sounding salesy. We've got at Landers Photography School, we've got several things that are coming up, but because of time, I'm just going to real briefly talk about them. We've got another Photo 101 starting on June 1st. Of course, we've got private sessions and private coaching going on at any time. So reach out to me. And of course, there's always Lunch with Landers and business assessment consultation that are both totally free. So if you want to take advantage of the, let's do this first one, Lunch with Landers. That is where I take a photographer to lunch with me every single Tuesday. By the way, the photographer that I had scheduled for tomorrow let me know just a little while ago during the show that she's not going to be able to make it. Something came up with the kids, and that happens, and that's fine. But what that means is it's open for tomorrow. So I don't have anyone scheduled. If someone wants me to take them to lunch tomorrow at the Dominion Country Club, let me know. I'd be happy to take care of that. And all you need to do is go to my website or the Calendly page. Go to calendly.com/photoschool/lunch with Landers with dashes between the words. So right there at the bottom of your screen, if you need to come back and look at this afterwards and hit pause, that's fine. But that's the address, and that's where you can find out if I'm still available for that. Now, the next thing is the business assessment consultation. So I'll put that one up, and that's where I give you a free 30-minute session. I'm not charging you anything at all for the time, and we talk about your business and what it is you're trying to accomplish, what your destinations are. You know, we get out on the road, and we have to have a place where we're going to make this all work. Business is much the same. So let's talk about that. It could be about your price list. It could be anything related to your business. It's 30 minutes, and I'm not charging you anything for it. So go to calendly.com/photoschool/30min, MIN, for that free 30-minute business assessment consultation. I want to thank you guys for being here today for our special panel discussion where we talked about how planning makes a difference in my business. One final shout out to Guy T. Phillips and to Esmeralda Hinojosa and to Victoria Zamora for investing their time, giving their time so generously to help us and uplift photographers. Because when we uplift other photographers, we are not doing anything less than uplifting everyone. It uplifts us all, including ourselves, to help out other photographers. Keeping secrets doesn't do anything. Besides, there aren't any. They're just things that people haven't learned yet or haven't come across yet. So share them so we're all uplifted. So those photographers charging $100 or $200 a session can actually start learning what it is, what it takes to make a profit in this so that it becomes normal, the regular thing. And we don't have we don't have a large number of photographers struggling. And so that our clients see our prices as being normal because, well, they are. They are what cause you to reach your goals, so therefore they are right. Thank you guys for being here today. For Landers Photography School and Digital Pro Lab, this is Jim Landers bringing you the weekly Portrait Profit Show, giving you evolving content, awareness, and even fun to the business side of photography. Through helpful information, step-by-step processes, and action steps that will guide you through the struggles that you deal with now, so you are constantly realigned to the path that leads to the success you deserve. Be here every Monday to experience a different way of looking at the business side of photography. Thank you for investing your time here at the Portrait Profit Show.